Hello, my name is Chelsea Merrickx, and I'm really excited that you decided to join me today on today's video. As we complete this project, I want you to constantly think about the question and ask yourself, where am I? And that question is going to be answered by the end of this video project. So just to show you an example of what we're going to be making today, we are going to be making this craft, and it's going to help us understand different locations and where we fit inside of each of these locations. So this is just a sample. By the end of today's video, this is what we are going to create. So to get started, I'm going to show you the materials that you are going to need to complete this project. So the first thing you are going to need is some type of paper. So that can be construction paper, it can be loose leaf paper or lined paper, or it can just be plain paper, plain white computer paper or cardstock. The next thing you are going to need for this video is going to be markers. You can use markers, you can use colored pencils, crayons, colored pens, it's up to you. Next, you're going to need scissors, and be very careful with these. Next, you are going to need a stapler. You don't have to use a stapler, you could also use tape if you have tape. And finally, you are going to need some type of writing utensil. That can be a pen, a pencil, one of your markers, one of your crayons, or a permanent marker like I have. So let's get started. The first thing you are going to do is you are going to take out 6 pieces of paper. And if you have construction paper, it needs to be different colors if you have it. If you're using the lined paper, if you're using the blank paper, just take out 6 pieces. So take a couple of moments. If you need to pause the video, take out 6 pieces of paper. And then we're going to get started. So like I said, we're focusing on our locations and how location and places can go from being larger to really, really small. The first location we're going to start with is the world. And we are going to create out of these papers circles. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So take your first sheet of paper. Mine is going to be blue. And we need to draw a circle on this sheet of paper. Now, the circle does not have to be perfect. I'm going to say that throughout the video, that your shapes do not need to be perfect. They're going to go from circles to ovals to maybe even squares. So it does not have to be perfect. So you're going to take and you are going to draw a large circle through the middle of the paper. And I'll show you how it's going to look. Okay, so this is my first circle, and as you can see, I took up most of the page. So now what you're going to do is you are going to cut this circle out using your scissors. So make sure you put your top back on your marker. Let's cut this circle out. Take your time. Again, if I'm moving too fast, just pause the video and start it back up when you're ready. Again, this does not need to be perfect. Of course, you want to make it as neat as possible, but I don't want you to focus on making it perfect. Okay, so put your circle to one side, put your trash or your scraps to another side. And we're going to start on our second sheet of paper. Now, as you go through places get smaller. So this is our first place. It's going to be the biggest location. So we need our next circle to be smaller than this one. So the best thing to do is to put this circle on the paper and draw 2 dots, one at the top and then one at the bottom there. And I'll show you how that's going to look. So a circle at the top, circle at the bottom. Okay, and then you are going to draw a circle that's smaller than these 2 points. And I'll show you how that's going to look. Just like this. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, that circle is cut out, and if you put it on top of this one. It, of course, should be smaller than the blue one. Again, it's not perfect. We'll clean up a little bit later. Okay, so you're going to do that for the rest of your paper. So just let's take this time to make our circle smaller than the other one. So take the one we just did. And we are going to draw a circle at the top, circle at the bottom, and then make our circle smaller than that. Just like this. And then we're going to cut. So you are going to do that for the rest of your paper. After I'm done, I'm going to come back and then we're going to move on to the next part of the video. I am back and I hope you have by now your 6 circles that we're going to use for our project. Okay, so now what you're going to do with your 6 circles, you need to put them on top of each other, starting with the largest all the way down to the smallest. Okay, so it should look like this. And now what you're going to do is you are going to take your tape or your stapler. You could even use glue if you have that. Or if you don't have any of those, you can poke a hole at the top of each paper and just maybe use some type of string to tie them together. But I have a stapler, so I'm going to staple it. And then after you staple it, now it should all be together like this. And here is where you can clean it up a bit. So the only one I need to clean up is the green on this side. So I'm going to trim that off a little bit. Okay, so it should look exactly like this. Again, doesn't have to be perfect as long as you can tell that they're going from largest to smallest. So with geography, there are several different ways we can describe a location. And so on this organizer, we're going to order these locations or places from largest to smallest. So the first location is the largest description of place, which is the world. So you are going to take a marker or a pen or a pencil, and on your largest circle at the bottom here, you are going to write, "This is my world." So it should look like this. Make sure that you can see the words without having to lift it up. And then underneath it, here, you are going to draw a picture of the earth and then put the word earth or the name earth. So it should look like this. And then if you flip it up, it has a very simple drawing of an earth and then the name earth. The next description of place is going to be country. So on your next paper, you are going to write, "This is my country." And then underneath that flap, you are going to draw a picture of the United States because that's the country that we live in. Again, a very simple drawing. And it should look like this. The next description of place we're going to do is we are going to do state. So on your next paper, you are going to put, "This is my state." And then underneath the flap, draw a very simple picture of Louisiana, which should have that boot shape. And then you are going to put Louisiana. And then it should look like this. Very simple drawing. Okay, now the next description of place we're going to put is we are going to put parish. So you're going to write on the next paper, this is my parish. Now, depending on where you live, this may be different from for everyone. So if you need to, ask an older person, a parent, an adult, or maybe an older sibling, what parish you live in. I live in Orleans Parish, so I'm going to write Orleans Parish. Now for this, you don't need to draw a picture. You can just put the name of the parish, Orleans Parish. Okay, and then on the next paper, you are going to put, this is my city. And under that flap, you are going to put a picture that represents the city you live in. And again, this may vary, may be different for everyone. You may live in Slidell, New Orleans, Harvey, Gretna. So you're going to draw something that's unique to your city. So for like New Orleans, I can draw the Superdome and write New Orleans. And finally, on the smallest circle, we are going to write, this is me. And you can draw a really simple picture of yourself and maybe even your house. And when you are all done, it should look like this. So this helps you understand exactly where you fit in the world. So our location, which is our house, is much smaller than our entire city, much smaller than the parish we live in, much smaller than the state, than the country, and then the world. So you can see that location gets smaller as we come down closer to where we live. So it's a really good representation to help you understand that you can describe places and locations several different ways, and that as you zoom out, it gets larger. And so by the end of this, there are some questions that you should be able to answer about yourself. Number one should be, what country do you live in? So you should be able to answer that question and know that it's the United States. The second question I want you to think about and answer to yourself is, what state do you live in? What is the name of the state you live in? The next question that I want you to think about is, what is your parish? What parish do you live in? And then finally, the last question I want you to be able to answer is, what city do you live in? And you should be able to answer that based on the project that we created. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was fun. And of course, I hope you learned something from it. Bye.